Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gantos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rad Gantos.
Oh, hi. I'm too busy taking pictures. Yes. I got celebrities in the studio.
Exactly.
Where?
Craig, you two here. Okay.
Awesome.
Paul, do we take a picture of Paul? Should we take a picture
No,
of Paul?
never.
Yes,
Never.
yes.
Look over here, Paul.
No, no.
Behind the
Look over here.
scenes
The
guy.
man who makes it all happen. Okay.
Eat your lunch, Paul.
All right. That's about as uplifting as this show is going to be today.
Yeah, really.
Okay. So who
We'll keep things light. We have to.
No. Listen. I did a preview of this show, and Dawn, you're on with us, are you?
I am, yes.
Perfect. Hi, Dawn. Dawn Garcia's
How are you
on.
guys?
I'm good. Thanks for being
We'll
here.
go around the room and introduce everybody
Right,
first,
so-
and that'll take half the show.
So I'm going to introduce everybody. This is a group of people that I asked to be on this show. It's a heavy show, but I really appreciate each and every one of these people in my life, and they've not been nothing but candid and honest in our exchanges. And this is a topic, it's one of those topics that I have been struggling with, and I needed people around that basically we could just have a candid and honest discussion. And some of them have professional expertise also and have had their own personal journeys that basically I think relate. So without further ado, I'm not going to introduce Paul because he's not on camera, but Paul Roberts is behind the scenes. So hey, Paul
I get
Roberts.
top billing today with this group?
Well,
Wow.
because you've been dealing with me for 3 years, so you get top billing, right? Michael Demeretz. Don is laughing because she knows. She was the first person who dealt with me on this. Right. Michael Demeretz right here, and I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves in a minute here, but Tanya Brown sitting next to me, and Craig Sullivan is behind me. For those who follow, Craig and I have a radio show that is on the first and third Wednesdays, follows the Raad Life, called Check Out California. So he is here too. And Dawn Garcia, like I said, is joining us from LA. She's calling in. So why don't you really quickly, Michael, give back people a little bit of background about yourself. Tanya, the same.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Rod. It's really an honor to speak with you and be part of this panel. And I know it was kind of on short notice, but I'm always happy to participate in any way I can to move the dialogue further.
He's being very kind. I asked him yesterday afternoon.
It is true.
Last night.
I asked you guys all last night.
Last night.
I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm considered a subject matter expert in end-of-life care, which is usually the conversation stopper on a plane. When people ask you, what do you do? They say,
Especially on a plane.
they don't want to
There
hear
you
anything
go.
more about it.
Can I move my seat now? Yeah.
And in a lot of respects, that's, I think, the crux of the matter is that people don't want to talk about it, or when they begin to talk about it, they're told to stop talking about it. And so
Yeah, telling people you're an author of a book called
Yeah.
Dying 101 and there's a sequel coming out
Yeah.
of Dying 102 is probably not an icebreaker on a plane.
No. And my co-authors are watching, Gail and Richard Reiser, and I'm sure they're going to get a chuckle out
He's
of
doing
this.
a great job.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and it is a tough topic, but you know, we have kind of jokingly said on this show that you know, we started off the show 3 years ago with Casey Kasem's daughter Carrie. Carrie, hi, if you're listening, talking about elder abuse, right, and bed sores, and visitation rights and legal. You know, as a child, you can't ask for your parent to visit your parent legally, and
That was
so,
a real knee slapper. That
yeah.
day,
So it was
Yeah.
like, you know, we've been on the lighter side of life here, you know, on this show, but. Somebody was asking me the other day, it's like, why do you do this? It sounds like a most depressing way to spend your Wednesday afternoon. And I said, the interesting thing is a common reaction, and we've had everybody in this room has been on the air on this show, and you know, interestingly, when everybody leaves the studio, because of that exchange, even though it was a difficult one, people feel empowered, and they actually feel
People
good.
feel up, yeah.
And it's sad that we don't have more and more opportunities like that in society today. So it's a tough topic, but we are going to approach it.
So what's the topic?
Tanya, why don't you tell people about
Well,
yourself?
tell the topic first.
The topic,
We need to hear about Tanya.
Tanya needs to know. We need to know about Tanya.
Okay.
So I'm Tanya Brown. Hi, everybody, all your listeners. And again, Rod, thank you for texting me at, midnight last night? Just kidding.
You're a night owl, just like
I'm
me.
a
I
total
wanted to get
night
hold of
owl. I know. I need to get a T-shirt that says I don't like
Insomnia.
mornings. So I'm the youngest sister of the late Nicole Brown Simpson, and what people don't know is that I attempted a suicide in 2004.
They'd know that if they followed the show.
Pretty much,
Because
yes.
we've talked about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And ow, I just bit my tongue. Just like Michael and Craig. Sorry, I was going to say Greg. We need to start talking about this. Death and dying is nobody's going to get out of here alive, but my job on earth is to empower people and encourage people to go to people like Mike and talk about it.
Seek that help.
Yep, absolutely. We need to start talking about the pain. Yeah, we're punished for feeling.
So I do want to give credit for Craig actually for reaching out to me and saying, "What kind of show are you doing this week?" And I said, "I'm doing blah blah blah." And he goes, "No, you're not. You're doing a show on suicide." And I'm like, "Okay, well, nice talking to you. You know,
that
I'll call you later on this week."
yeah.
You know, and I actually was dealing with it, and I felt, why not deal with this on the air? So
And is that because of the Anthony Bourdain situation?
Well, partially Anthony
And Kate,
Bourdain, but then
right.
Kate Spade,
Right.
and then last week, anybody who listened to the show, kind of the alignment of things is crazy sometimes. We had Joe Burke on here, and he was sharing his own personal story, and how he actually crossed paths with Kate Spade and Dave Spade, and because he basically had worked with for their mom, who had a magazine in Arizona, and he was doing advertising and graphics, and it was like a day after Kate had basically committed suicide, and it's like we have to do the show. So, and then Anthony Bourdain committed suicide, and I was following Dawn, as I usually do religiously, by the way, Dawn. Everything you put out, I just absorb. I love you too. And and if you're not following Dawn Garcia, you need to be. What's wrong with you people? Okay. So she basically posted something about Anthony Bourdain, and I couldn't agree with more her sentiment about it, and she had an opportunity to interview him. So, Dawn, give people a little bit of background about yourself.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I'm Dawn Garcia, and you have to forgive me. I'm a little congested today. But I am a writer and an editor, and actually, once upon a time, I had a show that Rod was my guest on. So it's kind of great that it went full circle. I'm also...
After I showed up, the show died, basically, but I tanked.
Yeah, and so I write and direct for film as well, and, I am very heavily steeped in this world of sort of the celebrityism, but not from a tabloid perspective.
Right.
I think that what happened to Anthony, it affected everybody. Not that what happened with Kate didn't affect everybody. I think it just was too many things at once. And then you think about Robin Williams, and these are people that people have a very specific set idea of who they are and what they represent,
and a very positive image of. They think happy thoughts when you mention any of those names.
Well, it's true. I mean, and I can tell you that, and I wrote this, but meeting Anthony Bourdain is like having thunder and sunshine explode in your face. It's the most amazing. He really is this incredible presence, and he's so freaking real. Like, there's no BS about him. And it's so lovely because to have someone like that, and I know you already read this, Rob, but I think it's true for someone in that position to share the world with the world.
And yet to have been so private about apparently his own pain.
Would you go ahead and read that, Dawn? Read what you wrote. Do you have it handy?
I have. Let me see.
Or ad lib. You're pretty good about that too.
I did write this. Today, the world lost a man whose ability to transform the way we see the world was unlike any other. Over the years, we've been taken to the streets of the Middle East, through the meat markets in Asia, talked to strangers on the street, and felt a human connection that feels lost on most days. Bourdain is a revelation in many ways, but in person, he is a presence that left an impression on your soul. He made you believe in the beauty of the grit. My heart sank at the loss of his legacy, that he's left all of us. But he's one that he left a legacy, that no one will ever fail to continue.
Yeah.
The world needs to be awakened, and if we can learn to see the profound impact of other cultures, see the immense importance of one another, embrace all of the difference, confront our misconceptions, and just take and I don't know if you can cuss, so take a bleak risk, we will be honoring him. Honestly, I just think that we don't really know what anybody's pain is. And I've experienced it, and I think everyone has experienced it, and we live in a crazy social media exhausting world where we're all trying to maintain this idea that everything's just fine. And I the more you talk to people, you realize everything is a complete mess, including us and our emotional state. And I'm sorry that people, by the way, is it Paul? No, Craig, you're the therapist, yes?
No.
No.
Yeah, he thinks he is.
No.
But he's
I'm not a
Irish, so that
therapist.
explains it.
And I tell long stories. It's in my blood.
But by the way, before you go further, anybody who's listening, that is why you fucking should be following Don Garcia.
Yeah.
Let the
Okay?
F-bombs
And yes,
go.
we curse all the time on this show.
Oh
So
boy.
Good.
Oh my God.
Good.
There we go.
Look at
Let it fly.
He's unleashed me.
I have unleashed Michael now.
You know, I want to.
Hold
sorry.
on. Go ahead, Don. You finish your thought.
No. That's okay. I was just going
All
to
right.
say, I think therapy, as much as to this day, which is an unfortunate reality, how taboo it seems, it's
Sadly.
an actual requirement for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the failures of this country, and the whole mental health
Yeah.
system,
Still
and
a taboo.
and everything else that we've been going through. It is taboo. It's unfortunate. And
Still a taboo topic.
You look at the amount of veterans that are committing suicide on a regular basis.
So here's some
and the unknown person.
Right.
Here's some shocking statistics, because two things, Don, and it's really funny. To me, it was funny, but it was sadly funny. Okay, here we are. I'm preparing for this show.
I think that's called irony.
Irony? Sadly funny? It's
I
called
think
irony.
that's the subtext of this
Ladies
whole
and
show
gentlemen,
here, right?
the results of
Irony.
education right there. So keep your kids in school, okay? But thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, English is not my first language, and people laugh when I say that for some odd reason. But okay, so
Entiendo.
the irony of the situation. Thank you, Michael. Is that when I was preparing for the show, and people know that I don't do a lot of preparation for the show, but I was preparing for this show, and I was looking at Kate Spade, and I was looking at Anthony Bourdain, and then here pops up the name of Robin Williams, and I could not believe that I had already forgotten that Robin Williams also had committed suicide, and I thought, how ironic that basically somebody like that has already, from my mind, gone away as being a person who basically suffered this way, and it's sad. Okay, that we have this stigma that you're talking about with therapy. Is it the name? Is it the label? Should it be referred to as life coaching? Something else? I don't know, but it should be in everybody's wellness
It's a
program.
recognition of weakness.
My own daughter, who's 11, she heard the term therapy, and she said that's where crazy people go. And I thought, my God, where the hell did you hear that?
At 11 years
Not
old,
for me.
sadly, in
She's
2018.
11,
Wow.
and I thought, have we not,
Obviously
anyway,
not.
And I know this will take another turn, I'm sure, but I think the way we also deal with mental illness and depression and anxiety is something that we've really failed in this country.
We've dehumanized it.
Risks in the world. We have, and we've also passed out medicine instead of looking for alternatives, and we've done all these things, and they're putting Band-Aids on it rather than actually trying to work through. And again, I know I'm going off track, and I will not do this again. But I just watched a documentary that Danny Trejo's produced on Netflix that's called The Survival Guide to Prison. And part of what they talked about was how depression and trauma and all these things lead to so many other behaviors that are way outside of a person's norm, but they're pushed to this place. And what has saved so many people are creative outlets and positive outlets, and actually having to deal, if they've committed a crime, having to hear from the people that they hurt.
You mean all those outlets that we basically don't fund, and every year we basically look at how we can cut budgets on? Those outlets that you're talking about, where our priorities are completely skewed? Yeah. I mean... So here's some crazy statistics, okay? Since 1999, in the United States, it's a global issue, by the way, but in the United States, we've had a 25% increase in suicide since 1999. In states like Missouri, we've had a 30% increase in suicide, okay? The largest spike in suicide is baby boomers. And there's a connection through a recent study, which the term is starting to get more play now after Anthony Bourdain, is that there is a repetitive pattern, that these are baby boomers that look to check out when they were earlier in life, and that was an acceptable sort of format and cultural acceptable thing for their generation, is to basically just end it all, okay? And when they face difficulties, and here they are now at a later point in their life, whereas seniors, and they're facing difficulties, and they've kind of reverted back to that as being an acceptable sort of outlet, and that because it is becoming normalized, there's a bit of a copycat situation that's happening with it as a possible outfit. So when we posted that question as the title of the show of "Suicide is Painless?" ? It was to basically start this conversation. Is it genuinely a painless thing? Are we as a society going to weigh down on the fact that the person who decides to check out that way, it's something that is an empowering act of final decision-making, independent decision-making, or is it something that basically is a selfish act that impacts people that are left behind? And this is the candid and honest conversation I want to have today, because I don't care if everybody sitting around this table has a different opinion on this thing. It will be a reflection of exactly the kind of conversation and dialogue that's taking place outside.
One of the things that we had the possibility of doing is entitling the book that we wrote, Dying 101, titling it The Baby Boomer's Guide to Death and Dying, because the baby boomer is not going to go gently into that good night.
No.
They're going to be demanding. They're going to be.
They haven't gone gently into
nothing.
anything.
They literally have taken over everything.
You don't believe me? Look at Paul and Greg.
And a lot of the reasons.
Paul.
No, I'm part of the Jones
Yeah.
generation.
Okay, that's it.
And a lot of the reason why the physician aid in dying laws are being so pushed is that it is about control for those folks.
Independent decision making
is independent decision making. But what I always want
by
to make
somebody
sure
who's
that people
suffering from mental
understand-
health.
What I want people to understand is it is the ultimate fuck you to the family, because that's who's left behind. Those folks are left with figuring out, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Is it my fault? The grief that someone
Don't
experiences.
you guys just love an unleashed Michael Demeretz?
So my mom a couple of years ago, she said, when you were about to take those pills, and I poured a bottle of Klonopin in my hand. I ended up taking 4 because I guess I was highly anxious. But my mom asked me around our kitchen stove, I'll never forget it. She said, weren't you thinking about me? Weren't you thinking about us?
Wow.
And I said, no.
No.
And until you've really walked in that dark tunnel, it's like you're in a bubble by yourself and there is no one around you. And so, no, I wasn't thinking about anyone. So I can't really say that it's selfish, because it takes over. It takes, you've got back feed, but it just takes you over. And I can't explain it other than you are just consumed with this dark cloud. And you can't get out of it. And thank God I had my family there.
Can I ask you one question
Yeah.
of everybody in the room here, and we'll get really honest around the phone? Has anybody in this room not been through therapy, or has anybody in this room similarly had suicidal thoughts? I did. I went through a very dark period, and the thought occurred to me.
I did, and I actually tried to commit suicide when I was 14.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're talking about it, but also...
I've been in a dark space. I don't know that I would, to be candid and honest with everybody who's been there, I don't know that I've gotten to that point, but there have been times when the sense of desperation, and if it wasn't for a support system that you knew instinctively was there, and even though you had parents and you were close to your family, but you had an extended support system where you could go to certain people with things you could not go to those closest to you, and then also the understanding and accepting that therapy is actually it's not just a lifeline, but it's also a way for you to maintain and manage your state and your wellness and your well-being.
Right, and I think we should always go to therapy. Go to therapy when you're well. The sad thing is that people only go to therapy when they're sick.
Yeah, I agree. I went through
Well,
therapy.
you don't work out only when you're basically fat and obese and somebody told you have diabetes. You work out to maintain your health and physical well-being. You should be doing the same thing for your mental health.
What I found most amazing during that dark period of my time when I went through major, I'm Irish, so I can suffer from depression that seems to be running our family.
Catholic guilt.
Yeah, listen, I don't know what it was. Things collapsed and things went bad and things got sick.
Confess that.
And, yeah, exactly. And I found myself, the hardest thing was that your brain doesn't send you the right signals. When you burn yourself, your impulses pull your hand out of the fire. When you're depressed, your impulse is to go deeper.
Right.
And not to pull yourself out.
It's a vicious circle, and there's also some other, I was watching CBS this morning, and there was a report that combinations of drugs mixed together
I saw that.
add to a depression. Now, my feeling, and I'm cynical anytime it comes up to big pharma, that they're going to push back on this dramatically and go, oh no, it's not us. But every time I see a commercial, and it's big pharma, it's the side effects are far worse than the disease.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
Sorry. No, I 100% agree. I mean, that's why, there's this report, with all the and I say this, okay, I'm telling you this because I just got hired as an editor for a lifestyle magazine that focuses on cannabis, and I have nothing to do with that world really. So I've had to learn quite a bit, and my focus was mainly on how it benefits our health and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of that, you know, like I think Sanjay Gupta did a report. If you can find it, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a very good one.
Phenomenal report.
Mm-hmm.
Pot versus pills,
Mm-hmm.
and how they use. You know, some of the biggest problems is that people are highly addicted to opiates.
Yep.
And I do think that that's true. I mean, I know
That are prescribed legally, by the way.
Yeah, but doesn't that go
Right,
beyond
yes,
pain
and that's the
management?
thing.
Yeah. Well, Bourdain was
That's exactly what it
reportedly
is.
doing Vicodin. I read that somewhere. I don't know if that's true or not, but that his wife, because his second wife was very into martial arts, and she said openly she gave him Vicodin to sort of get him through this, and we know he was a heroin addict before.
Why do we have this issue with accepting that as a reality? Okay, we wake up in the morning, we're all basically down, and we basically stimulate ourselves with caffeine. Okay, I mean, I'm using a simple formula basically, but if that's acceptable, that people are going to take an upper, and then at the end of the day they're going to have a glass of wine and they go down themselves.
Right.
I mean, the fact that it's prescribed by a doctor all of a sudden makes it a little bit easier. I mean,
I think it goes back to what you said. The baby boomers want 60-second answers. We don't want to face tough challenges. I think that's true, and I think so. We're always looking for.
You
a
actually
pill
do it on
and a
this
quick
show all the
answer.
time. You basically interrupt and ask for an answer.
I
when
do.
You
And
don't
I
get
brought
it.
him lunch. You
Yeah.
figured he'd be eating at this point. So,
But I think, and I don't know what the generational differences are between us all, but I can tell you that I'm in my 40s, and then a lot of my writers and staff are younger, and I see them struggling heavily
Absolutely.
with depression and anxiety and social anxiety
We don't teach people how to modulate their emotions.
Where do you learn to do
We
that?
don't.
Exactly.
We don't
We
teach
don't
people how to
talk.
do that.
We're punished for it
Yeah.
the second we feel.
People don't
I think.
Yes.
People don't talk.
Ooh,
Sorry,
that's a
we
good
all
one.
interrupt each other. But people don't talk. I have sat in a room with people who text speak. Right? I think you are a highly educated human being. We have got to get past. I mean, but even myself, like I said the other day on Facebook, I'm always like Mary Sunshine. Okay, I actually have a production company called Mary F and Sunshine. And
Mary F and Sunshine.
because I was so sick of people going, "You're always Mary fucking Sunshine," and I'm like, it's a choice though. It's because if I don't, I know where I can head down. I know the rabbit hole, and
You've been there.
But I said, oh my God, some days that just suck. Today sucks. And I was so irritated at people's responses because it's like, oh, hi, listen, so sorry. And every single one of them there's no sincerity behind it. It's just, it's a formulated response. And I'm like, okay, but how about, I was hoping what would have happened was, oh my God, you know what? I've had the shittiest day too. And actually have people go, me too.
Right.
It really sucks. I don't know what it is.
Try that sometime. Watch
Get
how they
real.
walk
Okay,
away
so-
from you. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me take
Exactly.
let me take a minute, okay? Because I want to just ask everybody here, how's everybody's day today?
Shitty.
Actually, fabulous.
My day is wonderful.
I quit my job. I'm happy.
You quit your job today?
that's always an uplifting.
Do you
It's
understand?
great.
Do you understand why I have these people on this topic, right?
I'm excited.
Well,
Don, how's your day?
My day is a little crazy. I have more tasks on my plate than ever, and it's not necessarily negative. I'm just like, my brain hurts.
Do you know how to exist in any other condition? As long as I've known you, this has
I
been.
know. I am a multitasker. No, it's been good though. Ironically, I'm getting some things accomplished, but there are people outside of this room that I'm in right now that are in this big office and they're playing ping pong, and I'm like slightly envious right now.
Outside
I
our
would
studio.
Craig, how's your
I would
day?
really love to do that. Yeah.
well,
how's your day, Craig?
it's funny. I'm your happy-go-lucky ray of fucking sunshine. So
No. Don already has
it's
that
always
company.
a good day. No.
You should meet Mary Sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah, every day's a great day.
You know what makes a difference to me in a great day, and I don't know if this is generational or not, is whether I feel I have control. Those days when I feel I'm out of control, those are the bad days. The days I feel like I got it all dialed in, that's a good day for me.
And everybody who's
100%.
everybody who's listening is probably goes through that like a myriad of times during the course of the day, during the course of the week. Okay, so what have you guys who have been through the dark, okay, learned in order to basically better manage those moments? I mean, Michael?
One of the things that I tell patients all the time, I'm a therapist, 35 years plus experience, and one of the things that I explain to people is that, do they know what an EKG looks like? An EKG goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up and it goes down. Do you know what it means when it's going up and it's going down and it's going up and it's going down? It means you're alive. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and the reality is that tomorrow is another day. You know, there's always another opportunity to make things right.
Right.
One of the things that I think is very important for us to get across in this conversation is that people who talk about it aren't necessarily the ones who do it. It's the ones who are silent.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Like Anthony Bourdain, his friend was
people
missing
are
that night.
quiet, and they have made a decision, and they know that if they begin talking about it, they're going to be stopped.
I just go
Someone
quiet
is gonna
to make people nervous.
Someone, well,
I never go quiet.
Oh, did you hear that silent pause that happened?
But see, I always wore my heart on my sleeve. If I was mad, I was mad. If I was, if I was sad, I would be sad. I mean, I wore my.
People who are successful in committing suicide don't really talk about it.
No.
You made an attempt that it sounds like there was something that was still holding you here. It was kind of like
God.
Exactly.
You said
Here
something
for a higher purpose.
You said something a minute ago, right? About feelings. Okay? That the minute you feel, people tell you what? You said this a minute ago. Like
I did?
Yeah, you said.
Oh, we're told not to.
Yes, the
we're
minute
told
you
not to feel.
you're told not to.
Don't
Right.
feel.
Don't
now,
feel.
Now, if it was one of these, one of us, yeah, if it was one of us guys sitting in this room that had said that, people would go, "Oh, it's a gender situation." Okay, you just heard Tanya say that the minute you feel, people tell you not to.
Right.
Okay.
It's so true, though. It is a societal conditioning, and I don't know when that changed. And maybe it's always been there, but I feel like more and more and more, it's like we all live in a highlight reel.
I think
so
Yes,
I
we
think
live in a
social
highlight
media
reel.
too.
In a highlight reel.
Even more so because of social media. Yeah.
A girlfriend of mine for many, many years, we were actually in the psych unit together, and she attempted a suicide 3 times last year. And her wife had called me and told me about this. And I was like, my God, how come you didn't tell me? And she goes, because your life looks so perfect on Facebook. So after when her wife said that to me, I started getting really real on Facebook. Like, I mean, depression, anxiety is going up. There's an increase with our youth as well because they're seeing everybody's life is so freaking perfect on Facebook. And you know what? I'm a hot mess. I'm a project. I'm a project.
I don't agree that that your
Oh.
profile on Facebook or your postings have been that way. I think you're a positive person in general, but I think if anybody's been following you for a hot minute, they would realize that you're also very open with some of your struggles.
Very.
And I think, we definitely are suffering from an over-curated world where authenticity has just basically gone down the toilet.
It's so superficial.
That's a great term, Rod. Over curated.
Yeah.
I in the same vein as you, I do think that people have these great misconceptions, and because, and I mean, I'm assuming everybody's profession, we have to keep up this certain idea, but I also think that we have a responsibility to be real. And I know I'm like you. I can't hide. I would never make it as an actress. I'm like the worst at hiding my feelings. I can't. Like, I mean, I can.
What are you talking about? We're a reality show going on here today. People are calling in to sign us.
But that's the thing is, like, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and by the way, I've never told anybody about what I did when I was 14, other than my mother and my family.
Well, it's okay. We don't have any listeners on you're set.
Well, no, but you know what? But it is what it is. But I just remember.
Other than anybody in the room.
Even then, I was so overcome with. I had a lot of realizations about things that happened to me in my childhood, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I always was a writer.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote a lot, but I had really internalized it because I didn't know how to express it. And even then, though, even in those moments, I knew I really didn't want to die because I took all these pills. And then as soon as I did, I ran and called somebody.
Oh, my God.
Called my mom, and I was like, I did something stupid.
There's
I just know I never wanted to be that. And I have a daughter now. So, I've had, it's
so let's talk about that for a minute. Let me switch because I see Michael wanting to jump on this. Okay, it's like the people that take certain paths when they're trying to commit suicide and the seriousness of that, because I will tell you, when you said it's the ultimate fuck you, okay, when you basically hang yourself,
Oh.
And I mean, you know, and when I found out that basically that was a shared situation between Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade
And Robin Williams.
and Robin Williams,
Robin
I
You
mean,
guys are all forgetting somebody else.
There's a finality to this.
Yeah.
You're forgetting somebody else.
Who else?
Michael Hutchinson, the lead singer from
Oh, yeah.
NXS.
From
I mean,
NXS,
That's
right.
true.
So-
I forgot. How quickly
Yeah.
you forget.
There's a finality to
Yeah.
that
Right.
act. You are not wanting to come back from this.
There, I shared this on Facebook about a year ago,
Yeah.
and there's a video, a gentleman that does speaking on a national basis who he shares something. He's one of the 9 people who have survived jumping off of the Golden Gate Bridge.
I know that. Yeah.
His last name's Hines.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said, and it's chilling, he says the moment his hands left the railing,
He regretted it.
He regretted it.
He regretted
He
it.
regretted it. And the power in the room when he was sharing that information, it is so final. And what that does to the people left behind, the questions in their mind, and the feelings, especially the parents, that
Yeah.
their child did something like that to
Can I ask you a
themselves.
question, Michael? Because this
Sad.
always strikes me. I have somebody I know well, not me, but somebody I know well, who discovered their mother hanging in the garage
Oh,
when they
jeez.
were 13.
God.
Oh my God.
Came home and mom's in the garage hanging from the rafters.
Oh Jesus.
Now, that experience changed his whole life.
Trauma.
And I wonder, I know it's a nephew and you're in your moment. I've been there. It's dark. It's only about me. I got no way out. This is it. I got no choice. But to do it so gruesomely, why do so many visible people do it? So, I mean, hanging, they could take pills and just quietly slip away.
Yeah, but you could survive that, maybe.
You
There's
could
a
cut your-
finality to hanging yourself.
Gunshot wounds to the head
Unless
and now
you're-
hanging
yeah.
have got to be 2 of the more
Yeah.
gruesome
Yeah.
things to leave
You know,
behind.
The research has basically said men tend to be more
Aggressive.
violent types of ends of life.
But
But
Kate
Kate, she
Spade, I
did
mean,
that
that's
as
what-
well,
that's
which was
what,
shocking
like,
to me.
Yeah,
threw
that was
me
shocking.
completely.
So talk about that
too.
for a minute. What does
know-
that do to the impact when you find, because you leave, but somebody finds you.
Ugh.
I used to run a support group for people who were facing end of life, and they often would talk about suicide. And one of the things that Gail and I used to ask them is, who's going to find you?
Yes, right.
Who's going to find you? And tell us about that. To get me in that space for who is going to find you. And what does that say to you, to them about your relationship with them?
Yes.
Oh my God. I think it's important to talk about this stuff. I'm a mandated reporter, so if somebody says they're going to kill themselves or they're going to hurt somebody, I have to
And when
report
people
that.
when people say that,
But-
listen to that as
Don't
a
take it
warning
lightly.
sign. Don't
Right.
take it lightly or
Yeah.
shy away. from it.
That's, I think a lot of people do that, though. They do
Yeah.
think, oh,
Well, yeah.
you're just being dramatic.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to play. I'm
That's
going.
a scary thing.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, okay, Michael? So, okay, fine. But what you're basically doing is you're guilting me into not doing what I feel I need to do because I'm in such a bad spot and in such a black space and everything is right. So when you're telling me, well, what about the people that leave me behind? And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate, right? Are you not basically ignoring my needs where I'm at? How do we balance that
You
out?
know, I wrote an article a couple of months ago about suffering and the assessment of suffering and being able to identify when people are really suffering inconsolably and how do we handle that? And that's the second part of that question is who finds you, but also what can we do to help you right now? You know, do you need to be somewhere? Do you need to be with someone? Do you need to talk to somebody?
And I think that's
Do
the
you need to
secret.
feel?
I think you've got to get outside of your own head and realize that you do impact others. I mean, I think whether it's guilt or whatever it is, you have to look at it in a bigger picture.
That's
Right.
why we have to start
Now-
talking
now-
about feelings.
Feelings.
Craig, go ahead.
You know, let's
It all
let's
comes
talk
down.
about this. Let's talk about the person who's found by a perfect stranger.
Oh,
Okay, we got a hotel just down the street from us. It's got a semi-open fire escape. Okay, and there's metal grates up on the openings now because when it first opened, people were jumping off of it, committing suicide.
jeez.
I've got friends and clients, and we're all in the hotel business. And I've got one buddy of mine who's had at least one suicide at every one of his hotels.
Jeez.
You know, you imagine the maid walking in and finding that.
Right.
Okay, and
Right,
you know,
I don't want to have my family find me, so I'm just going to go check into
right,
the hotel
and
check
that's
out.
what happens
Horrible.
on a far
Wow.
higher basis than most people commonly know of.
I did know that.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Don.
Now, I was just going to say, so on the other side of this, right, we have the completely depressed, the ones who really do need to be reaching out and just they're internalizing a lot. And then you have the other side where you have like the medical assisted suicides. And I wonder if that's even something to talk about because I think for me, I don't actually think that that's a terrible
Well,
thing.
is the proper term
You're
medical
sick.
assisted suicide, or is it euthanasia?
It's physician aid in dying.
Yeah, that's the proper term.
That's what I was wondering.
And
Yeah.
is it any different that you made that choice? I'm going through, no secret, I have this 94-year aunt I talk about. I just put her in a board and care facility. She's wanting to die. If this is what life is, I don't want to live.
My
And
grandma's 97.
so should she have that right to bring, she's
Well,
not
Michael,
going to die.
after
but-
saying
Yeah.
what you had said
Yeah.
prior, what do you think about that? How is that different?
You know, it is a little different because a person who has capacity and who has the ability to do that, and the law is such that it is, certainly at this point in time, it's kind of on hold in California, but in the states where it's been in practice for some time, people tend not to follow through. They get the drugs and then they don't take them, and that's what leads me to believe that it's about control. But the corollary to that is it's also about suffering, because people are afraid of suffering,
Right.
and that is really the crux of the matter.
And we don't teach people how to deal with that.
I'm afraid of suffering.
In end of life care, primarily, we worry about suffering and suffering inconsolably, meaning that we cannot get over it.
Anybody
Yeah,
here
no,
not afraid to suffer for the last 20 years of their life here? I mean, come on, that's where...
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, like, those who have severe Alzheimer's or who have a terrible
but-
degenerative disease or things like that, where everybody in their realm is also suffering by watching them.
Correct, but that's
Yeah.
not what we're talking about
Yeah.
here only, and I want to make sure that people understand that.
Of course.
Yeah, we're talking about. We're not necessarily. I know it's a baby boomer and an aging show, but really, Michael touched on something, and we haven't really explored it very much, and it is that we basically are not taught the skill sets to basically do two things. Identify when we are going down that path, when we are going into that dark side,
Right.
early enough.
Tunnel
to
ahead.
Right? But also to have acquired some tools along the way to recenter, to meditate, to get out of our own head, to basically capture, breathing exercise. We talk about stuff like this.
Walk outside,
Who
all the
teaches
things.
you
The
those
tools in
things?
the
And they
back.
should be totally
Tools
taught.
in the back of Tanya. Hold the book here.
Yeah.
Tools in the back of Tanya's book here.
Yeah.
Finding Peace Amid the Chaos. There you go.
Yeah, my escape from depression and suicide. And in the back, because when I was writing it, I said to my co-writer, William, I said, William, this is just another sad story, crazy story. It's not nighttime reading, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I said, something's missing. I go, people are hurting. I said, they want solutions. They need tools. And I do life management coaching. It's because these tools aren't something that I just pulled out of thin air. I learned these when
Right.
I was in the psych unit.
Out of necessity.
Right.
And it talks about acceptance, surrendering, just even problem solving, goal setting, but most importantly, meditation, self-care.
Well, people's tolerance to pain is also different, right? So what one person basically can handle very easily as being something that's stressful or a reason for stress could be something that is absolutely devastating for somebody else.
Right. It's all relative.
Yeah. Craig, you were going to say something.
I think that's part of the conversation that, whether you're a boomer or Generation Jones or something after
I
that.
don't think it's age related, to be honest.
We weren't given those skills. We weren't taught those
Right,
skills.
right.
Okay.
We
Now,
still don't teach
a
them.
lot
We
of
still
us that have children haven't passed that on to our children either.
No.
So we're perpetuating the
Of course,
problem
of
by not
By ignoring
discussing it, not
by
bringing
burying
it,
our heads in the
not
sand,
having the AMA and
the stigma of somebody having depression in the family.
We also lead by example.
Right.
I don't drink because I'm in recovery, but the reality is that that's how people medicate. They medicate themselves.
self-medicate.
They
Yeah.
self-medicate, and they see their parents do it. They
Yeah.
see their
Right.
peers do it.
Right.
And that's how people stop.
I see
feeling.
celebrities committing
Exactly.
suicide.
Stop
It
feeling.
makes
Which
it
goes
norm-
back to the one
normalizes it.
point.
They
that-
numb.
The one point
Yeah.
that you all make, I think resonated with me when I first went to the therapist. She said, "I don't think you've ever really felt anything. You're always uptight. You're always trying to put on an image. You're always
Anybody who
trying to be
spends
happy."
5 minutes with you knows
Were
that.
you
Okay.
working at publicly held corporate America then?
Yes.
That's
a
why.
big
That's
part
why.
of it.
That's
Yeah,
why.
it's-
I haven't stopped
Yeah.
smiling in almost 8 years when
I
I
know.
retired from
That's true.
publicly held
Me
That's
too,
corporate
in 3
America.
years. I
That's
just
true.
quit my job.
Yeah, there was a lot of stress and strain and stuff. That's why I was working with celebrities and stuff way back when. But I will tell you that I don't think we do feel. We don't allow ourselves to feel sad. The minute you feel sad, go
pick
reach for
yourself
something.
up by your
Right,
bootstraps.
right. It's-
Get over it.
But the whole
Well, what if you
idea
don't have
that
the boots?
that you are going to feel bad
Summer.
some days, and that's okay. That is
You
part
know,
of the cycle.
One of the things that happens
I do-
frequently. I'm
Hold
sorry,
on a second,
I'm sorry,
Don.
Don. One of the things that happens frequently with the patients that I work with who are dying, they're often a very advanced age. Somebody 85, spouse is left behind. And automatically, family, physician, all the people in their life say, oh, well, they're depressed. They need a medication, or they need something to take care of that. What they're really saying is, you're feeling, I can't handle watching it,
so I'm going to medicate
so I want to
you.
medicate you.
Right.
I say to physicians frequently,
exactly.
Mr. Jones is not clinically depressed. He's sad.
Right.
His wife just died.
And it's okay to be
He's
sad.
grieving.
It's a human
And it's
condition,
okay
people.
to be sad.
Yeah.
What he needs.
Say that again, because most people in this society do not think. Go on Facebook and say, I'm sad. Tell your friends I'm sad.
I'm sad.
Go to your doctor and say, I'm sad.
Hey,
Everybody's going to walk away and
I'm
give
sad.
you a
I just found out my childhood friend died from alcoholism.
People.
Yeah.
So,
There,
I mean,
there is an emoticon on Facebook that you select. It's a sad face. Okay, even on Facebook,
feel
it's
sad.
okay to be sad.
it's okay to not
it's
be
a-
okay,
it's a-
people.
But is it okay to be sad today? I don't find people accept sadness. Immediately, they
no,
either want to walk away from you or they want to medicate you.
Well,
Or
it's
tell
pain-
you to get
it's-
over it.
It's pain
Get over
tolerance. Don, go ahead.
Well, there's another part
Hold
of
on,
that too.
hold on a sec, Greg. Don, go ahead. You.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, I have to constantly, I check in with my daughter on the regular because she was feeling those feelings of sadness. And I said, you know, if you don't feel like talking to me, let's go find somebody that you can talk to. And it had nothing to do. She wasn't depressed. She wasn't having any of these things. She was just feeling like bummed and didn't know how to work through some things.
Right.
And I knew I couldn't
Be there for her.
all the tools.
on it,
And
yeah.
sometimes it does help talking to somebody that is going to be objective and isn't there to judge you.
Right.
Impartial, outside person.
And without
yeah.
wallowing in it, is it okay for her to be sad for a while?
Yeah.
Well, yes, and honestly, like I know I've had an unnatural amount of loss in my life, and I have through the course of going, you know, you learn how people respond, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing is always, I'm sorry. And I always hated that because I thought, it's not your fault. I don't want you to feel sorry. What I want is just maybe a hug.
Yeah.
Or maybe just remind me
Yeah.
that, you know
I'm
what,
here.
this
Yeah,
is just
listen,
a
don't try to fix
Not
me.
alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
I'm here for you.
Yeah.
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 And
Because
that's
there's
the
nothing you
thing,
can
like,
say. There's nothing you can say. Just be there.
But you know, the I'm sorry is also part of that conditioning. It's just like not wanting to deal with the sadness. It's like, where would they have learned how to feel enough to be basically honest in their reaction to what you're putting out? So the canned response that we basically have picked up along the way is, hey, go get a sorry card. Go get a sympathy card. Go look for somebody else's words to try to express what you basically
You know
are
what else
feeling.
I find when people die? I've obviously lost both of my parents. When you go through that experience, how quickly they want you to recover. Your dad died yesterday. When are you coming back to work?
Oh my God.
Something horrible just
amazing.
happened, and you have to recover immediately.
Grieving is messy. That's why I don't really follow the
And it's not a
Elizabeth
one-size-fits-all
Kubler-Ross. It's like, well,
Yeah.
wait a second. The 5 stages. Wait, I'm out of sequence. I'm
Yeah.
at stage 4, and now I'm back at stage 1.
Go
Aren't
through.
you
and
done
it's
yet?
messy. Yeah.
Go through those
Grieving-
just quickly so people know, because
I
that's
don't
a
know
very
them all by heart, but there's
Oh,
grief,
okay.
there's anger, there's denial, there's
Bargaining.
bargaining,
and then
yeah.
acceptance.
And then
Acceptance, yeah.
Yeah.
Dabda.
And
Dabda. Okay, good. I'm going to remember that. But yeah, I mean, the reason why I wanted to just swallow those pills and call it a day, I was tapped out because the trigger was the cancellation of my wedding. But it wasn't. My mom's like, "Oh my God, my kid's going sick over a guy." She goes, "Just
Yeah.
find another one." And I go, "Mom, there's something bigger.
There
There's
was
something
other stuff.
And you know what it
Yes.
was? It's unresolved pain. It was
Always.
unresolved
that's
grief.
exactly what it is.
I lost,
Always.
yeah, I had to bury 6 friends of mine in high school, and then 2 years my best friend, and then in 2000 or in 94 we had Nicole. Then in 2000 my friend Troy. I mean, it was like, and then 4 years ago my dad. So it's like loss after loss. But what I've learned now is that I've learned to talk. I've learned to
Yes.
feel my feelings. I've learned that grieving is messy and it's chaotic. And you know, I was a victim of a trauma last year. I mean, I think I shared that with you. And I was horribly angry. Oh my God, my mom was like, I don't even know my daughter. I was drinking during the day. I was drinking in the closet. I mean, really, I was a closet drinker, and I'm very open with that. Very ashamed. I made apologies and I made amends because you have to own your behavior to move on. But I felt, and could you imagine if I would have held all that anger and that pain, not just from my youth, but from last year, if I held all of that
So what I'm
in,
hearing you say is, one,
be a hot mess,
we don't
a
allow
hotter
ourselves
mess.
to feel
We don't.
sad. When we do feel sad, we don't know how to recover or recuperate.
And we put
or
ourselves on a timeline to get over it sooner.
Yeah.
right? And then we don't talk and and nor do people talk to us or with us. Go find somebody to do that. I'm sorry, I'm not the one to do that. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm not prepared to handle this right now.
I can't be there for you.
I
right
don't
now.
want to be part of this experience for you here.
Yeah, no, and I'm just going to take it from a micro and individual, because at the end of the day, it is a personal responsibility. You got to want it bad enough to basically seek the help, okay? I mean, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's very, very true. And anybody who's been challenged in that way understands that it really comes down to you. Now, doesn't mean that you have to have all the answers yourself, but you need to basically be open to receive help.
You can't,
and you gotta put yourself in that spot. It's
Take
uncomfortable,
Yes.
whatever, right? But I will say, I'm going to take it to another level here.
Another level, my God.
Yeah.
Can we take a break then?
No,
And
we're
then
not
before
taking
you
a
do
break.
that?
We're in it now.
All right,
If it's
okay.
too messy for you, you can leave the room. Okay. But here. I know it's your studio, but
I already messed
here's the door,
myself.
right? Okay.
I already messed
Let him
myself.
have his lunch.
Yeah, go eat outside. Okay. I can't deal with you right now.
I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't deal with this.
But here's another level. The level is
Need a hug,
that at
Paul?
some point go hug him. Okay.
Oh, I have a huge. That's my thing. I have a huge hugs necklace.
Oh yeah.
Can I get my thought out, guys?
No.
Okay. Thank
No.
you.
We're trying not to.
I love you all, but let me get this out. Okay. In the 80s, we had something that was a shutdown of institutionalized facilities that basically were available.
You don't
for
want to go
something.
there.
No, I do want to go there, because guess what?
Oh, I agree.
Guess what? We are sitting on an election year, and I would die to find out somebody, excuse the pun, but I would die to find out one person who's running for office that's going to basically address the fact that we have an epidemic that is in baby boomers and seniors, that is a large concentration of which is in Orange County. Where do they go to seek that? Not only do we give them a permission and tell them it's okay in a natural and a human and a healthy way and a wellness way, and self-care is okay, and you're not being selfish and all that BS that we basically do the exact opposite and basically implanting in kids and reinforcing all the way through people's lives. Where do they go to get that assistance? Where do we basically talk about people needing to basically be aided? Where is it okay to basically help veterans that are on the streets, that are homeless, that basically have an opiate problem, but also at the bottom and the end of the day have a mental health issue that is causing to basically self-medicate? Where do we do it to seniors?
I don't know where it is, but as long as it's not in my neighborhood.
Where is the responsibility and the lack of abdication of leadership for those who are basically in positions where they can apply policy and provide those kind of services? But we are not even providing creative outlets for people to self-medicate through creative outlets.
that's
And they won't unless they privatize it. So
Yeah, you
You guys,
go ahead.
sorry, you guys have to watch the documentary because it addresses how the shutdown of all of the mental health and wellness centers instigated an entire onslaught of people who were dealing with emotions like depression and anger and frustration,
homelessness,
and then
yeah.
they turned to crime. Yeah, but then they turn to crime because they get so far in this one moment where normally they could have been able to handle it, but they were just this well of emotion, and one stupid mistake ruined their entire life. And that California.
Hey, but it saved us money, didn't it?
Have the worst. No, we
No,
have
it
the
didn't.
worst and most expensive.
Thank you.
it went into our roads.
in the nation.
Yeah.
No, we literally have like the most flawed in California. We have the worst prison system in the world because they do nothing.
But I'm going to challenge you
But
back.
you know that
Rod.
that book you were talking about, Don, about surviving incarceration.
It's
Okay.
not a book; it's a Netflix.
Oh, the Netflix. Okay, but surviving incarceration, in my mind, when you use the word incarceration, or most people's mind, it's the four walls in a prison where you basically liberties are
create your
basically
own
done, right?
jails.
Oh my God.
We all create our own jails.
Can I throw this back to Rod though here? Because you just
But
start.
wait, there were.
I'm just going to say this. Rod said something, and then he contradicted himself. He said,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's a
eat lunch.
personal responsibility that you have to find help and demand help and find help.
Yes.
And then he said, but we have a group responsibility to help you.
No, that's not what I said. That is not what I said. I said if
Play the
I
tape.
that's not what I said.
There are people-
That's
Play the
that's what you heard. Okay, because
But that's
from,
not
from
what he
whatever your own
said.
filter. What I said was that you are at the end of the day the person who is responsible to understand that you need help and you seek it, or
Right.
allow yourself to be open to receive it. What I said, the part you're referring to is, once I get to that point, where do I go get it? How do I even find out that it's okay to do? That is the group responsibility. That we have we have to basically allow for this. It's like,
The
okay,
place and the
wait,
space.
hold on. You're going to
Right.
collect. You're going to get money, and you're going to earn a living, and you're going to make an income. But you know what? I'm not responsible to provide you with a place for you to keep it safely,
horrible.
or a bank to basically put it in, or somewhere to basically safeguard your future. No. You got to go build your own friggin' bank.
But you just
Come
said
on.
people don't even want to
Sad.
talk about it to their friends or loved ones. How many people want to deal with it as a society and find a space and a place and the funds to do this? Not many.
It's not outside your own house. It's your kid sitting in the bedroom, depressed, that you basically silently don't even understand that's what they're going through.
I get
and then you
that.
go, oh my God.
Well, is that
I don't
because our
understand.
schools are now at prison?
Oh,
Ooh.
don't. Now you're going to go a whole nother direction. Oh, my
You know,
goodness.
okay.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to. the
Armed
woman
prisons.
tonight mentioned that.
Did I say I love you all? I really do.
Yeah, whatever you do. But I just
Love
looked
you,
at it
man.
yesterday, which is why it's fresh in my head. And the only reason I'm saying it is because of those people, there are something like 400,000 people that were wrongly imprisoned that actually were proven to be innocent. And there's this Innocence Project. And the whole thing behind all of this is that we live in a society where everybody is ignoring all the signs.
We want all the rights, but we'd have no accountability or responsibility.
And we want somebody else to deal with it, not here. You can build that, but not in my neighborhood. I'm happy to help. I don't even want to help my friends, much less strangers down the street.
Well, is that because we saw all this good work done in the late '60s with the Vietnam protests and civil rights, and then as we got older
Right.
and we got into college and we didn't pay attention to SDS and a few other things, and we discovered money and cocaine, and we decided we were not going to
Why don't you
be
tell us more about your
socially responsible anymore.
I'll tell you.
So-
Cocaine,
I got to
drinking
throw
in
this out there.
closets.
This is a totally veer off, but Joel Cocken, very conservative writer up at Chapman here, writes a lot of conservative pieces in the Register and others. Wrote a piece that I thought was very interesting. The generation that Craig talks about was the generation that was going to change the world and be different than their parents. As we've gotten older, are we just as selfish, even more so than our parents? I don't care about homelessness anymore. Screw them. I don't care about affordability. Not in my neighborhood. I don't care about anything. I got mine. I'm sorry you don't have
Okay,
yours.
look at Abigail Hoffman
Yeah.
and Tom Hake. Okay,
Right.
A couple of the biggest sellouts of that generation. Okay,
So again,
So-
have
so-
we
so let's bring-
become our
let's-
parents?
but-
Have we
but
become?
let's bring it back specifically to this topic, okay? Do we have an epidemic?
yes.
Oh my God,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
But
That-
it ain't-
that is
And-
is
and it-
is
and-
it- is
and-
it is the
and-
epidemic suicide or is it mental health?
It's mental health.
Mental health.
mental health.
Mental illness. Let's
Mental
let's
illness.
change.
Let's call
change
it-
that.
let's call
But
what
is
it
the
is.
mental
Yeah,
illness
mental
the
illness.
responsibility of the mentally ill or of all of us as a
mental
society?
well-being.
But is mental
that's
well-being
That's surely sugarcoating it. I don't want to do that
is
on the show.
but what you're getting at here
It's
is
mental
is,
illness.
Mental illness.
is it my responsibility to help others or just myself?
And by the way, it's illness. It's not.
How
It's
about
not
both?
self-inflicted. I mean, let's get over that too, right? It could happen to anybody,
Anyone.
in this room,
Yeah.
anybody we know.
Yep.
It could happen in affluent communities. It could happen behind gated communities. It could
Hashtag
happen.
no one is
I mean,
immune.
nobody is immune.
Right.
Okay, there's no. There. It is doesn't pick on based on political party. It doesn't pick based on religion. It doesn't. It could hit
Anytime.
because it is part of the
Every-
human
everybody
condition.
gets that, but is the solution government and society, or is the solution within us individually?
Do you want a 6-second solution,
As
or do you want a
hippie-
real solution?
as old hippies, we'd say, go find it yourself and seek it yourself and change yourself and be the change you want to see in others.
So
and all
let's
that
go
stuff.
around the room on that one. Michael, you want to start us
I
off?
think it begins with the individual because we make all sorts of efforts with lots and lots of money here in Orange County to solve the problems like homelessness and things like that. And we take people into those areas, give them resources, and then they take what they can
And then
initially,
leave.
and then they're out on the street again
is that a
because they
sol-
don't want to participate.
Is that a solution or a Band-Aid?
It's right now we're just using big Band-Aids because it's upsetting
Yes.
to us
Right.
who have got a nice life here. We don't want to see the homelessness. We don't want to see the problems on the
Amen.
street. We just want it to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to pay for it. Just don't make it happen in my backyard.
Right.
And so that's really the problem is that I think we have solutions. It's just I don't know whether they're the right
Well,
solution.
there are also commitments of a longer involvement,
Yeah.
right? If we really
Right,
are going to want
right.
to solve this, and I don't want to
So
spend that much
there's
time.
some
on-
there's some awesome people in Orange County who are doing some amazing things.
Yep.
Jim Palmer with the OC Rescue Mission, but you've got to want to
You gotta
be
want it.
there.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
Purdue
gotta want
down
it.
at
You've
FAM.
got to be sober. You've got to be willing to participate, and that's on you.
Yeah. Yes.
And if you don't do it, then I need to be able to have some way of taking kicking you out of society and putting you somewhere because you're bothering me.
But let me tell you this.
That is the
Michael,
most honest from somebody
Yeah,
who I
that's
thought
very
was
honest.
the
That is very
opposite.
honest.
That was the most honest,
Yeah.
and I have to say, I'm sorry to say, probably agreeable
Yes.
thing that I would.
Absolutely.
However,
ultimately
You gotta want the help.
However,
You gotta want the help.
there's a layer, okay, and
Gotta want
yes,
it.
you're gonna want the help, right? But what if you, because we talked about this, what if you along the line of your life basically have never heard or been told or even having a clue that this is actually something you can seek out, that you can want to find? Okay, what is it? Is it the old adage of you got to hit rock bottom, and whatever that rock bottom is for you? Because if we're putting it on that person, then have we at least put a little flyer saying, hey, it's okay if you're basically feeling bad. There is a way out.
Out. Right.
You might want to do this. Go to
Does
Go-
it hit rock bottom?
go to Charlie Street in,
No, I've been there. I've
Charlie
been there.
Street
I mean,
in Costa Mesa and see what rock bottom looks like.
Wow.
Those people.
I don't
get-
even know where Charlie Street is. Where is Charlie Street? I don't even know. I mean,
Well,
give me roughly.
Costa Mesa.
The
It's
point
in
is,
Costa
get out of
Mesa.
your bubble and look at what that
you
looks
can
like.
see what it looks like,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of support, but you got to want
You
it.
got to want it.
Oh,
And
I'm
if
not.
you don't- and if
I'm
you
not
don't want it-
disagreeing.
sometimes when people, I had 4 people commit suicide who in my life in this past year out of a meeting that I go to. 4 people.
Wow.
Right.
Younger than me, half my age,
Oh.
who killed themselves because they just didn't see any other way out.
Yeah.
But the reality is that lots of things have been presented to them, lots of opportunities to get it right, to be rescued.
want it.
So
I've
how do you
told
balance
people,
it-
give me your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it to me. I'll help you.
Which I
Yeah.
got to just say
but
quickly.
you got to reach
got-
my hand.
Right.
Real quick, like
So
I
my-
say,
so
that's
my-
what
I
upsets me
agree.
about
I agree with
celebrity
Michael.
suicides. Because at the end of the day, I'm supposed to feel sorry. I thought Anthony Bourdain was a great guy. I really
He
looked
made
up
you-
to him.
they-
whatever.
their suicide made you feel,
Yeah.
and you don't like it.
No, you know what it was? No, that maybe. But, more than that, I feel angry because if you didn't have, you had all the resources in the world. And I'm supposed to feel bad for you and Whitney Houston, given all the gifts you've had and all the chances you've had and all the money you had. And if you, I'm angry. And there was somebody else that just was on social media saying they're angry at this.
Well, no,
whole
and
thing.
I said this when we prepared for the show. I
You
said
of
this
all
is
others
an
should-
angering topic.
You should have, more
You're
than
hearing it
any
right now.
others, taken advantage of those opportunities and sought help. I feel bad for the guy on Charlie Street who doesn't know what to do, who's never got no resources.
Well, Michael's
no
saying
life,
is actually
no
they
nothing.
are given that opportunity. It's like the old joke about you're falling down the cliff and things appear, and then basically you're not grabbing for the branch, you're not grabbing for this. By the time you basically die and you go up to heaven, and it's like, God, why didn't you give me a sign? And he goes, what was the branch? What do you
Right.
think?
Yeah.
the branch was?
Right.
I think
Or the
part of
rock,
this,
Yeah.
part of this discussion that we're missing, it's not just celebrities, okay?
Right.
It's people, everyday salespeople that cross that line and they blend friends and business together, and they hold everything in. They cannot divulge that they've got medical issues or
Right.
financial issues. They
Anybody
have
on
nobody
social,
to
anybody
talk
on
about.
social media?
And
Greg.
they have a tendency of doing these
Right.
things.
So we have as a society an urge to feel happy, an unwillingness to feel sad, and an instant answer. I live in a
And a need for an
60-second
instant
society. Need for an instant answer.
That's constantly reinforced.
A
by the way.
society won't let you talk about it. Your friends don't want to hear it, and society is tired of paying for it. And yet we wonder why these problems persist.
Okay, so I told
Exactly. No, it's so true. The tea and the Tanya formula, the tea, talk about it.
Talk about it.
Talk about
Which
it.
is what we're doing
But
here.
it is.
Oh, that makes Paul
right.
feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now he's feeling
But
again.
also-
Now he's not going to do
No,
that.
no. I
But-
think talking is the key. I really
You have
do.
to, and nobody is alone. I mean, you run support groups as well, and it's like you get a new person in there, and they're like, God, I'm not alone anymore. But I'm going to give you another T.
Yeah.
T2. Technological detox, you guys. Our brain is so stressed.
Yeah. There's
It's not-
no neutral space.
It's not just, oh my God, I'm so stressed, I have so much to do. It's like, no, we need to chill this thing, the one thing that will take your life, and it's your brain. And you got to do what you got to do to chill it out. Meditate, go walk, you got to journal, you got to, your positive affirmations. Yes, it may sound pop psychology, but you know what? It works.
Can I tell you something that
And I get really adamant about it.
It was a byproduct of doing this show, actually, which has been really a godsend. When we're on the air, when we're doing this, anybody who's listening to this, you tell me if you've been paying attention to this, if you've been able to do anything else other than be focused on this.
Yeah,
thing,
right.
Right? It's an hour during my week where technically I mostly am good about it, right, is we have to be in the now. We are in the minute. We are in this exchange. We're in this discussion. We're not what I have on my calendar.
Right.
You know, although for a minute ago that we got like a notification on Michael's phone, who's basically doing a live feed, that he had a lunch appointment.
Right,
but the point that Tanya is making is very valid. You gotta care enough about your mental health, and when I say mental health, I mean the calmness in your friggin' brain.
Yeah.
That it's like a machine that is 24/7. At some point, it has to be maintained.
Yeah.
It has to shut down. It has to
You have
have
to
some
take care of
sleep.
it.
It has to be kind of
Sleep. Huge,
right? And so. I promise everybody to give me feedback. So Craig's basically been elbowing me. So you want to go
So I
next.
got a question. Let's talk about Tanya's tea too. How many of you have your cell phone? And I'm sorry, I'm not going to call it a smartphone because I think it dumps us all down. How many of you have it on the nightstand, and that's the first thing that you pick up in the morning?
I have it under my pillow, and it's the first
Oh,
thing
that's
I look
awful.
You are a sick
That's
puppy.
awful.
at. I sleep.
I've
with
been
it.
telling you that for years without Paul.
Turn it all off.
No,
Get it out of
leave
your room.
downstairs,
So close to
leave it
me.
in another room. Does
No.
it have to
So
be
are
the first thing?
so Craig, are you how do you feel about this topic? Are you angry? Are you
He said he's Mary Sunshine. He's Billy Sunshine. He
No,
doesn't-
I'm good. You
Mary
know,
effing sunshine.
yeah.
How do you feel about not
I'm
about
really
the not
fucking
about
happy.
the
I'm sitting back here
I
smiling.
mean, Michael, I got anger, and I was going to ask you. So those 4 people that you knew that were part of your group that basically decided to take their lives, how do you balance that out in your head? I mean, these are people you personally know.
They are people that I was close to, and
Yeah.
I am very angry.
Yeah.
In addition to being very upset because they didn't ask for help.
Yeah.
And it was
and you
there.
said you
Hands
actually put the
here.
hand
Hands
out.
there.
Yeah.
The hands here, and if you can't take it, you know what? After they've done it, and I've grieved that, fuck them.
Yes.
Because they piss me off now. Because I did offer help.
Yeah.
I did reach out for you.
Yeah.
I did open my hand.
And you know what, you guys
And
are,
that's why suicide
Yeah.
isn't painless.
and you know what
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
and
there's nothing you
it's
can
not
do.
painless. And you know what I'm hearing, Michael, is I'm not hearing detachment. I'm hearing complete feeling, complete sensory ends,
Raw.
basically
Setting
raw.
Yeah. Yeah.
As it should be as a human being. It
It
should be.
hurts. It hurts. But I'll tell you another piece, and we didn't even mention this. All those people, the celebrities that died by their own hand,
Yep.
they had a hell of a lot of life to go.
Yes.
What are we missing? That selfishness that they didn't give us the rest of their life.
And waste of
What
talent.
they could have accomplished.
I know.
Don, how do you feel about this?
Sad.
I don't know. I
Wow,
mean,
Don Garcia is for a loss for words.
Wow,
I
I
have
don't
not
know.
seen this ever
well,
before.
because I'm kind of processing everything because.
Okay, you want me to come back to you?
You touched on. No, I mean you touched on homelessness. I live in Los Angeles. Los Angeles versus Orange County is like.
Oh, we have homeless here.
completely different.
We have a lot of homeless here, including
We
about
just ship 'em
40%
around
of
from
our
from
families
one
and
country.
children
I may
aren't.
end up being homeless. I just
Don't
quit
eat.
my job.
Anybody looking to hire, call Tanya.
So here's the question.
Hold on.
She doesn't want to answer.
Don has the mic. Do
She
you want to
does-
answer or should we move on?
She doesn't want to answer, clearly. I'm trying to give her
No,
a
I
little
do.
space.
She wants to answer. Give her the
I
space.
do want to answer. I think that I do think that the way that we treat one another is lacking. I think technology lends to that because
Yes.
we really become isolated when we have
It's
our phones
impersonal.
and we're always on social media. And people do things on social media that they would never do in real life. And
That's
Right.
I
the
think,
truth.
you know, there's bullying, there's cheating, there's all kinds of weird things that happen that people feel that there's this false curtain.
What site are you on? I want to go there. Oh, no. I'm sorry.
It's a different show. No, but you know, we are all so connected,
We are.
but
we're
we
so
have no
divided.
depth of connection.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, I have conversations with people all the time. I have this mailbox in Toluca Lake, and I swear to God, I meet someone every single time I go in there, and it's because I say, "How are you?" And I go to, and I very rarely go get coffee because I like coffee at home. But if I do, I always ask the baristas how their day is going.
Yeah.
And I find it to be absolutely alarming that they're shocked because no one the entire day dared ask them how they were.
Can I ask you one
Yeah.
shocking question? Though? What if one of them really said, you know, terrible, my mother just died?
I've had.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had this
Oh, I'm sure.
literally break down and say I'm having the worst day, and I said, do you want to talk about it? And she did.
You know what's
Okay.
you know what's sad
Possibly.
about your comment, Paul? It tells me you don't ask.
I don't because I don't want to know.
Right, but you see, that's exactly what Don's pointing out.
I don't want to know.
I think
I don't
we
have
a-
time to know. I don't want to know. I'm sorry.
I also think we ask very flippantly.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? You know, it's like
we don't really
fine.
want to know the answer,
Right?
And that's why people say fine.
Yeah.
Like how many?
And we all know what fine stands for.
You know what? I will confess, since we are in that zone, right? I got on a plane the other day, right? And I drop off my car.
TSA
and the guy,
didn't pull you out?
And the guy, no, I have a TSA pre, so I'm good. Okay. I don't know how I got it, but I got it. All right.
After this show?
I think it was like I think actually it was a heavy security of $80 or something I paid for. But okay, so I drop off my car. And the guy says it was valet. I know you're going to give me grief about it, but you know,
oh, you're fancy.
Right. I drop off my car, Long Beach Airport. Everybody fly out of Long Beach Airport. JetBlue, Grut, awesome.
Great.
Drop off
Yes,
your car for
it's
valet.
great.
It'll get washed by the time you get back.
I'm with you with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I drop off my car, and to Tanya's point, right? The guy says, "Have a great flight," and I say, "You too."
I've said that so many times.
Okay. I'm
Have a great flight, right?
Mr. Sincere.
I've said that too.
With the most sincere smile and caring. I was about to give the guy a hug, and I said, "You too."
You too, sir.
I mean, I'm pointing that out because I'm
You were really listening to that
I'm really
moment.
engaged with people, right? And here with it,
Right there.
So let's just be honest,
That's not
right?
funny.
We all could do
That's
better engaging with our the
And
people
being
around
more
us,
mindful.
right?
So we got
Being
10
more
minutes
mindful.
left. I've already gone a half hour over here. Mr. Paul is just being generous again here today, but it's
You
a
started
important
us off
topic.
15 minutes late. We're 15
What
minutes over.
or whatever time was left? Is there any upbeat? Is there any note? I heard a lot of pessimism.
Well,
I heard a lot of
hold on
honesty.
a second. Tanya, what are you feeling about this? I mean, you have had your own personal journey about this.
Yeah,
About
it's
today's topic,
Where-
you mean?
Yeah, this is a heavy topic. The reason why I stand on platforms is to give people hope, and hope stands for hold on, pain ends. But you got to
Wow,
reach out. You
I
got to
like
get
that.
you got to get help. You got to reach out for help.
Hold on, pain ends.
Hold
Hope.
on, pain ends.
If you could really believe that, you could hold on. If you really thought there was an end to the pain.
That's when you know in my coaching packet I have list names and numbers of people already handy. So when you get into that space, that dark space, you don't need to thumb through your phone. You just grab that piece of paper and go, you know what, I'm going to call Jackie today.
Truly your lifeline, as they
It's
say
your
in that
lifeline.
game
And before
show.
we end,
But you
we're going to
gotta-
basically
but you
I'm
gotta
going to ask these
create
people to
it.
share that.
So I'm very, very adamant about it. We
and
need
have
to
some-
create a forum, a comfortable forum for all of us to get real with
well,
it.
and have somebody like you who's basically candidly and honestly and very vulnerably sharing your own personal story, and you're not basically coming at it from a talk down, and to also say, and I am here, and here's some resources. Michael's
Yeah.
the same situation,
Yeah.
right? Craig, what are you feeling about this?
You know,
He's
a
happy.
lot of mixed emotions actually. I mean, throughout my life, I've had associates, acquaintances, friends, family commit suicide,
Oh, my goodness.
die in war,
die in war.
other horrible catastrophes. But honestly, most of the motherfucking time, I am really happy.
So how?
Now,
Are you...
my
Yeah.
neighbors could probably counteract that because every now and again I'll put on Van Hager and drink way too much beer and tequila shots, and I
Right.
apologize to all of them the next day.
But
I
without
got a really good life. It's good to be me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so do I. So do
you
I.
know, it's,
we all do.
Now I used to feel that,
blessed.
and Rad and I had this conversation when I was pitching to him to do this show.
Right.
That I always felt that suicide was the coward's way out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Common thought.
Now I don't know if that's because of Irish Catholic upbringing
Right.
and
Probably
all
a
of
little bit.
that. But I got to tell you, I've softened on that dramatically over the past probably 2 to 3 years.
How so?
I think now, if you are caught in this vicious circle of depression, you don't know what it is.
You don't.
You may not be able to ask for help. So I think my hardcore stance, and you know me pretty well, I don't have a lot of hardcore
He's
stances.
not opinionated at all.
You know, it's
Joke.
no, I'm opinionated.
No,
at
joke.
this,
Joke.
but,
It was, yeah.
You know,
Irony
I
again?
don't think you know which way's
You
up,
don't, because
so-
that's what I said at the beginning. Your brain sends you the wrong signals.
Yeah.
If I have struggles in my life, I use my brain to use my brain to logically try and come up with the answer. But if my brain's defective,
See, I look for a joke or sarcasm.
if
Boom,
my
that's where
brain
I'm
is
going.
not
That's your
sending
Irish
me the right
side.
answer,
Right.
then I
Craig,
can't get out of it.
Craig, here's the interesting thing, because we've been talking, and so far a lot of us have been basically saying, it's angry, it's a kind of
Yeah.
I have a real resentment towards this. When people do it, they're being very selfish, and I'm hearing that. Okay, I'm also hearing it coming from a place of love and feeling and just deep emotion, right? In your case, you're saying you soften. And my question to you is, has your softening been about the acceptance of it, or sort of matter of fact, just saying, okay, fine, it's just something some people are going to do. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think they should try to hold on longer. Hold on. Pain ends.
I think it's a combination of all.
I'm just
of the
delving
above.
a little deeper.
I've had my father who got extremely sick and died, and a very miserable death, and euthanasia or whatever you want to call it. Really wasn't an option.
What's the term?
Wasn't something
physician
talked
aid in
about.
dying.
Physician aided.
So
would you have considered that had it been?
Yeah, and I've told my son already that I'm 60. I'm going to be 62 next month, so I've got more time behind me than ahead of me. Okay, and that's been a tough realization. But I've already had to talk with my son and said, something happens, I go down this path. This is what I want to consider.
But that's the common baby boomer reaction, that I'm going to have control until the very end.
Yeah.
It's my choice until the very end. No one's going to tell me what to do. They have it my whole life,
well,
and they're not
about. Well, you need to ask Rad if I'm a control freak or not.
There's an interesting concept that happens with people as they age. There's an interesting concept that happens with people as they age and dealing with the last chapter of their life.
Their mortality.
There is a line, the goalpost, where it says, if this happens, then I want out.
Yes.
If this happens, then I want out.
How does
the goalpost keeps moving.
Yeah,
because people don't know how they're going to feel when they get to that point.
Right.
A lot of people say, if I have to have someone else wipe my ass, I'm out of here. Well, guess what? I have a lot of people who have people wiping their ass, and they're actually
and
okay with it.
all of a sudden, they're okay with the indignity.
That's my mom.
You
My
know?
mom always said, "Oh my God, I will never do that." Well, guess what? We did it for 4 years.
Mick Jagger famously said, "If I'm still singing, My Generator or whatever, if I'm still singing any of these songs after 30, shoot me." And he's singing them a lot longer after 30.
He was wearing Kevlar right now.
Hey, Sammy Hagar turned 71 this year.
Oh my
We're
God,
running out of time a little bit, but I want to say something to all of you. That I think it's important. It's very important for us to be current with people. Being current with someone is saying, when I say goodbye, I don't really say goodbye. I say I love you. I care about you. You matter to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm current with people in my life. Yeah. You have to be current. If you're not, you don't get another chance.
You don't get another chance.
Every time I had a conversation with my son.
And you know what?
And sometimes you're not prepared for the death.
You're
right?
never.
It happens overnight.
You're never really prepared, and that is not even an age situation, by the way, right? Your focus could be on one parent that basically, and I just had a recent experience of this year. Your focus is on one parent because of their age, because of what they're dealing with, whatever, and that is where your focus is. And then, boom! Next thing you know, it's the other parent that basically is dealing with the more severe crisis. Dawn, what do you have to add?
Yes. I just was going to say, I know.
You need to be in the studio next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Too hard to butt in when you're remote.
It is. Well, you would see my face. I know that I was dying. But so much of it is that I think that we've become too apathetic. I'm a huge believer in empathy, and I think that as a society, our lack of that is how we got here. But I know for myself when I've had, and it's been a very rough emotional year. And when I was saying I had a lot of death, it was mostly sudden death through accidents, malpractice, things that were out of everybody's control. And I had to deal with all of that. And recently, what I just was reading about this, most of the time when we feel those feelings, we feel afraid. We feel afraid of those feelings.
Yes.
So our physiological response to fear is the exact same physiological response we have to courage and brevity. So every time I start to feel afraid of what I'm feeling, I remind myself that I am being courageous, and I'm going to confront that fear. I'm going to confront those feelings. And just changing that little mindset, it really made a huge difference in how I deal with what I'm going through, because I'm afraid because I don't understand how it's going to end.
So being afraid is courageous. Feeling is courageous.
And
yes,
have you watched any movies or read any books about heroes and quests and challenges? There's always fear.
No, he's a Republican. He hasn't read a book.
Hasn't read a book.
But anyway, so that's kind of my take. Is I think we can all be a little bit more courageous, and feeling is
probably true.
Is really us just being badass and brave.
Well, and again, to Michael's point,
it's a good
it
book.
is a personal choice of how to frame it. Now, you just chose to frame this side of the coin as being bravery versus fear.
Fear is bravery.
And that is one of those things that we need to always remember that we need to do on a daily basis as part of our own self-maintenance and self-well-being, is that we gotta, you think you're messing with your own head by labeling it differently. You know what? If it works for you, label it differently. If it helps you through the day, label it differently. If 5 minutes in the morning meditating and basically shutting down and just being focused on your breathing helps you basically navigate the next 2 hours of your day in a better state and more centered. If you have picked up some tricks along the way, that when you find yourself in a situation where you identify some warning signals of where you're going because of external thing, people be doing whatever, that you're basically develop that muscle to where you can bring it to bear when you need it. That's okay. Being selfish in that manner for yourself is okay. Being able to do that for yourself and then pass it on to somebody else that you care about is okay. In fact, it is probably one of the best things you can do. One of the biggest gifts that you can do to people. And we live in a very apathetic world, disconnected world. The number of friends that you have and the number of contacts you have on Facebook is not any measure of any damn thing other than you have Facebook connections, right? Reach out to your neighbor. Craig didn't say this, and I'm not going to out where he lives, but one of his health and well-being,
nice area.
His health and well-being, is that he's on a corner lot where people walk a lot, and he's out there with his dog and a beer on occasion, and basically he's like the greeter on that corner, right? He's the Baron, right? But the thing about it is that is part of his health and well-being. He's basically engaging with his neighbors. When was the last time you actually went to your neighbor and said anything other than, "Hey, how come your son clipped my car when they were leaving the driveway?"
Let me give you something to think about. Okay, now this country went through a metamorphosis. It used to be when you bought a house, you either had a common driveway with
Metamorphosis
one neighbor,
is when things get better, Greg. I think we need a different word for what we went through.
In the back, so you shared that. And the house was the house, and you had a front porch.
Right.
Or you had an alley, and you had a separate garage, and you came in through that, and you still had a front porch. Somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s, the LNRs, the KBs, the Irvine Company, and various others changed all that. They said we can jam more houses into these areas, and we're going to make half of the house a garage. So now you used to drive in, you used to get out of your car, close the big garage door, walk to what this postage size front porch, and go into your house. Where it used to be everybody gathered on their front porch. The kids knew how to come home when the street lights came on, and everybody knew one another. You don't have that. The area that I live in, nobody has a backyard. Well, we do. It's called the Pacific Ocean. So we are all friendly. We all know one another. We talk to everybody. We talk to strangers. Everything.
So you're saying it was the unintended consequence of changing our
home builders?
Blame it all on them. However, even though the brochure from those developments doesn't show life as being messy, okay, when you buy that house, I will tell you, you look at those developments 10 and 15 years and 20 years later after they were basically put into place, and you have life basically. You cannot ever, eventually life will find a way, and you will find those kids. Now, maybe it's not every single house on the block, but there are some things that start to happen in those communities as they get more established. The newer ones, much harder, right? But overall, our life has become so hectic, there's been so much demands on our time, that we don't give ourselves the time or the permission to actually engage with one another like we have just done. And I do want to give a thanks to Paul for letting us run past this.
Thank you, Paul.
Because sometimes that is life. That is life. It's messy,
and
it basically takes a little longer to get to where we're going, right? And so it's not all on an agenda or a to-do list. I want to thank everybody for being on this, but before we go, I want everybody to basically share their contact information, because these are people that if you're going through some stuff, their hearts are so large.
Call them.
They will be there for you in one way or the other if they can. So, Michael, whatever you want to share.
My phone number is 949-355-6000. My email address is mdemoratz, DEMORATZ, @gmail.com. None of that will ever change.
Thank you, Michael. Tanya?
And people can reach me at Tanya at TanyaBrown.net. It's TANYA. And my phone number is 323-723-CALM.
Oh,
I
like
that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, she keeps upping her game every time I see
right?
her. And Dawn,
Yes.
how do people find out about Dawn Garcia?
You don't. She's on the phone. You can't find her.
I know. Probably just my site, dongarcia.com, and you can email me, dg@dongarcia. I have a magazine. I have a million other ways that you could reach me, but that's the most direct.
You're gonna trip over Don Garcia the minute you type in Don Garcia online. Okay, she's worse than I am, right? But here's the other thing too. The best way to engage with people is break bread with them sometimes. And Don, I know, is going to be at a couple of things, including a seafood festival in Santa Monica soon, right?
Yeah, I do many. Yeah, I try to do a lot of different events actually.
Yeah.
And I speak at inner city high schools when I can as well.
You know what you said though, that shows your roots, because that's a very Middle Eastern and European old school break bread to get there. I don't break bread with anybody.
Really? What did Jesus?
You're not Irish.
Really? What did Jesus do for the Last Supper?
The old school. When was Jesus around? Not last week.
Yeah, but
that's old school.
I agree. I try to get people together, and I just put it out there. Like, if you guys want to come, whether we have a drink, or coffee, I'm like, if somebody really
drink.
Yeah.
We break bread. We break bread every Wednesday from 12 to 1 on the Raad Life.
We sure
right?
do.
And
we really do.
Craig, if you want to get hold of Craig, you contact me, because he and I are connected to the hip. So, and you can reach me at Raad Gantus or rad.gantus@gmail.com.
Spell it.
RAAD.GHANTOUS @gmail.com. You can also reach the Raad Life on Facebook. And Paul, give people the number in case they ever needed to call us.
949-330-7760. 949-330-7760. Operators standing by.
If you guys have been listening, please share with us what your thoughts were on this. This is a mess. This was a messy topic. We didn't really have a program or an outline for where we were going to go with it. But you know what? Those are sometimes the best journeys to take.
Organic.
It's the Raad Life every day, every week.
And I appreciate you guys coming along with this journey today. I really feel a lot better, at least having had that conversation. I don't know that we have resolved anything. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a personal thing for each one of us. But hopefully we help some people basically accept the fact that it's okay to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Don.
You have been listening to the Raad Life radio show with your host and age explorer, Raad Gantos, brought to you on the one and only octalkradio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.